I feel if Rumble goes across, a lot of teams that we saw in MSI at least were pretty comfortable playing stuff like the Udyr into it, right? They weren't that worried about Rumble by the time we got to the competition close. Yeah, Varus as well actually being left open here as well, but looks like they are going to go towards the Nocturne. I imagine Viper will get his hands on the Varus, and I'm pretty excited to be honest to see what angle, right? Viper can do on us. Yeah, that could be a super strong combo here.
Yeah, okay. Lee Sin's also... I mean, there's so many strong picks. There are so many strong picks. It's going to be Lee Sin Rumble that comes through, which does mean Varus is still available. You could go like Varus Time Kench or something here for BLG. A lot of options. I'm taking your job now, Dagda. What do you want to see?
So I actually I think the reason that we're seeing Varus drift down so far is because a lot of players are actually pretty happy to play something like an Ezreal into it. But I think here, when you're looking towards already a Nocturne locked in, you definitely want to opt towards more of a dive composition, or at least have a buddy for him. So it could easily be something like aiming going back towards the Kaisa, which was his most played champion coming in from spring. But as well, like, you're then kind of leaving yourself open to, hey, look, Varus going across here with that Rumble. He's super good at the moment already, but does like to be paired with something that can keep him relatively safe. Fresh taken off the board. Lulu, even potentially Tam Kench ban to come in from BLG. Could mean that Varus is a little bit hard to operate when you've got so much dive already on the BLG side.
And well, we talked about that Varus. It is still available if they did want to go for the Rumble Varus combo that can be so potent on the side of EDG. And I feel like in this draft, comparatively to game number 1, we saw some new meta shenanigans in game number 1. So literally all of that has been banned in game 2. And now we're like, okay, back to the MSI meta instead. Just go for the standard picks from MSI. But it is going to be an Ezreal, at least to shake things up a little bit down in that bottom side.
Yeah, and that was where I think they kind of looked at it the same as myself and went, you know what, Varus, I don't think like my chances against a Nocturne Udyr Kaisa composition that can fly in and kill me with nothing to keep me safe. So instead, they go for the safe self-peel from the Ezreal. It means that now again, Meiko could be unlocked a little bit from this mid lane if they want to, but it does give you a lot more options and a lot more room to work with, but also plays into the strengths of EDG right now, right? They have a super strong mid-game composition between the lead, the Rumble, and the Ezreal, and I believe that's where they're going to be looking to try and fight, get these early dragons, see if they can turn that in towards a fight about the 24-25 minute mark at one of these souls.
I see LeBlanc has been consistently banned in the second phase across the course of today. It will be banned once again, this time away from Zeka. The Viego taken off, Silas banned away as well. It's a little bit surprising because Scout is a big fan of that, but it could be that Scout's going to go towards something like the Lee Sin. And again, you don't necessarily want to go with the Silas as a blind pick. And now BLG could look towards banning another mid laner here. Things like the Orianna still available, but it's actually going to be the Alistar taken off the board.
Yeah, I think you still got enough here for the support role that you're fine. Like Leona or something could even come through here. Great on those roams. You still got stuff like the Nautilus is open, Bard as well if you wanted to. I mean, heck, even the Tam Kench if you wanted to try and go for a super safe bot lane. But it looks like they are going to go with the Leona. So a lot of lockdown coming through to help alongside this Rumble, since we no longer have that, you know, the Varus combo that you were mentioning, Munch. So on the opposite side though, Rell I think would be wonderful here. Rell does super well against the Leona in that Leona cannot stop the engage coming through from the Rell, but also she can steal away a ton of the stats. So you've got a very strong bot lane, and Rell works incredibly well in the dive that we're seeing coming through from BLG side as well. So, I love TF Nocturne. I think you can get so damn creative around the map, but looks like they're not going to go for the fully global. But if they do, this is a combo that we've seen throughout MSI in a lot of different places, and I think it works super well. You talked about
hovers. It's the classic the classic blunder. It's going to be Zeka Zoe though, which is exciting. Definitely one of Zeka's better picks. And look, I really hope Zoe wins XD. You know, it's one of those kind of situations where I actually really like watching Zoe anyway. I feel like I'm one of the few people that actually enjoys watching Zoe. I think she's such an entertaining champion to watch. Different conversation. I'll move on. Yeah. Right now, Scout hovering the Akali. Scout is an exceptional Akali player. We saw one earlier today. It didn't work out super well. This time around, I do feel like this kind of skirmishing composition that EDG have built for themselves fits more into the Akali wheelhouse.
Oh, we might actually be getting the Akali top for Flandre. So Scout gonna take the Lee Sin mid now. I think this is going to work relatively well against the Zoe, because Zoe is a champion that if you can close the gap onto her, you can do a lot of work against her. And especially if you can like ward hop onto her and then you can land the Sonic Wave. Even if she lands the bubble, you can follow up in time to get the Sonic Wave proc and still look for the kill, or at least a massive trade on you. So nice again from EDG to have a little bit of flexibility again in the draft to start to match up these lanes in better situations for themselves. But overall, I think, as you said, a heavy skirmish composition coming through from EDG. They can look to have a lot of power on this top side towards those early Rift Heralds if they'd like to. Whereas for BLG's side, you're going to be waiting a little bit of time before you can try and make much happen. But I certainly think you can try and play through this Kaisa Leona bot lane and look towards these early dragons.
I have to say, when we see the Lee Sin, the Akali, the Rumble locked in, if we'd seen this locked in 12 months ago, I think these three champions in these three roles is maybe the least likely format that we could have seen these champions in a year ago, right? It's crazy to think how much the game has, or the meta has changed over the course of the year, and how these champions interact these days. But it's going to be interesting to see what EDG can do here in game number 2. I do like the composition they've pulled out for themselves. Certainly we don't see the same shenanigans from BLG with the crazy shielding and sustain, or the shielding, as it were, from game number 1. And we'll see if BLG can execute a bit more of a standard composition here as we head into game number 2. And Dagda gonna have an Infernal Drake by the looks of things for our first Drake on this one. I'm excited to see what EDG have up their sleeves, because they're probably going to be angry after game number 1.
Well, we're going to have to see just how angry they are, because BLG, I mean, you're sitting one up. They have a strong composition here that they can look to go for a dive with. You got a lot of pick comp.
They had a whole player
I actually
on
haven't
the
seen a
side.
Zeka sign before.
Oh yeah, that's cute, yeah. Zeka finally gets some fad. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm pretty sure it was Scout. I'm not entirely sure. I only caught a glimpse of it, but it was a sign that was literally an LED glass light of a player with a bunch of text next to it. That's super cool.
Classic. Sorry, I missed it, but I'm just looking at the.
Sorry, I thrown you off now.
I'm just looking at BLG, right? And I think here, you got BiuBiu who can go into the back line. He's hooked up to ppgod. That seems like a really strong dive that it's going to be pretty difficult for EDG to deal with. When I look over towards Zeka as well and BiuBiu, you got some great pick opportunity as we get some heavy trade in bot side.
Yeah, and you expect that to somewhat favor BLG with an Ezreal on the side of EDG in the early stages of the game. It's generally going to go the way of a Kaisa, but looking for that level 2 is going to be a big moment here. ppgod in that grounded stance does mean he can go for a flash knock-up, but that's exactly what they go for. Meiko's in trouble. Will flash away, gets out with his life. Only one summoner used on the side of BLG, 2 for the side of EDG.
That's a big mistake from Meiko as well, because as you said, like, it's one of the big strengths of Rell is when you're able to use that flick back, and doesn't even have to burn the flash in that. Literally just walks at Meiko, gets the toss over the shoulder, and you get the flash out of Meiko. So making that bot lane again a lot more difficult, and probably putting a lot of pressure down that, because Zeka will have early push. WeiWei as well, pathing down towards the spot side. I wouldn't be surprised if BLG tries some sort of dive shenanigans once again.
I'm not gonna lie, I saw the purple from the Ghost Blade picked up by Zeka there, and I thought it was a TP for a second. I was like, I thought they removed that. That's insane. They have removed that. It's not a thing. Don't worry about it, guys. Yeah, we'll see how that bot lane is gonna go. Already, we're only 3 minutes in, and already it's been a much better start for ppgod this game because he's not died yet. Good job, man. To be fair, I'm being a bit harsh. He actually had a really good game in game number 1. Hang on. Oh, the early smite from Jiejie means that he can't actually contest. But WeiWei doesn't have smite either. WeiWei still wins this one out, has priority on the bot side. So we'll be able to get that crab. That might be a double scuttle here.
Yeah, it looks like it with WeiWei pathing up towards top side. BiuBiu has control of that top lane as well, just because of the matchup. So should be a double scuttle and a nice start here for WeiWei. Now, just a reminder for anyone who's a bit confused as to why Jiejie early smited. Smite has been changed. It now breaks the shield on the scuttle crab. And after you do, and it's also on a reduced amount at the early stages of the game until you get your 5 uses out of it. Then it gets upgraded, and you have 900 true damage onto monsters for the rest of the game. So a little bit of a change to smite into the jungle, which is why you were seeing that early smite come in.
And it also means that when it comes to fighting over things like Baron. First off, jungle smites will be symmetrical almost always. But also things like your Cho'Gath, things like your Jinx that are already pretty good at stealing objectives, going to be even better because Smite is slightly worse later on in the game.
Except Jinx did have a cap added. Finally, she added a cap to the Super Mega Death Rocket. She can't just murder it for unlimited damage.
From half its health, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God, thank God. But yeah, as we slowly but surely go through this early game, Dagda, talk to me about who you're expecting to lead the charge here, because it feels like Zeka forced a flash in the mid lane. That was a little too close for comfort. Scout making a real good attempt in the mid lane.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about for this Lee Sin, was like, if you can actually get the distance close on towards this Zoe, you can do a heap of work with it. You can see it there, forcing the flash out of Zeka. Now, I would have liked to see BLG trying to play towards this early dragon. Now, with Zeka pushing, aiming, and ppgod building up a big wave, I think WeiWei should be fairly confident to start this up, but they do just have to be careful because Scout has still a lot of his flashes, still has his TP available to get back towards the mid lane, but looks like they're going to be fine starting it up anyway.
Yep, this will be VLG starting this one off. As we mentioned, with Zeka TPing back into the mid lane as well, he'll be able to easily get priority once again. The bot lane with priority. We see a little replay of the all-in from Scout there. Obviously not quite able to finish the kill, but good little attempt there. As Jiejie does grab his Gromp and move up towards the top half of the map. TP from Scout. And it's a good start from BLG to grab themselves a nice early Drake. Looking for an attempt onto Zeka. He has no flash right now, but he does have his W, so he's fine.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, basically for EDG's side, playing heavily towards Scout now. With no flash on towards Zeka, he's a sitting duck, especially with the amount of mobility Scout has up with his flash. So you can pretty much send that Zoe straight into the waiting hands of Jiejie. And here we go.
Huge fight. Zeka's in trouble, does have a flash, but he's taken down. That's first blood instantly. BiuBiu now in trouble as Flandre actually goes under the tower for a second. Nice little pickup from EDG. Now in the bot side, BLG want to answer. Meiko has no flash and surely will be taken down. Aiming with the first kill in that bottom side, but it was Scout to get the first one mid.
Yeah, and look again, Meiko being punished for the earlier flash being blown, but we already saw EDG getting at least some back in that mid lane as well. So 1 for 1 in the grand scheme of things. With that kill going across towards Scout though, he's not going to be able to do as much as Amin will be in the later portion of the game with the kill that he's managed to gain for himself.
Very nicely done here by EDG, but a great answer as well from BLG. And I have to say, Dagda, you know, we came into today saying this might be a bit more of an even matchup than you would have expected. And, like, sometimes you talk about these sorts of stories and you're hoping, right? You're saying it, like, with an air of, I hope that this is going to be the case. But to a larger extent, I was still believing that EDG was going to be a heavy favorite in this series. But what we're seeing from BLG today, the fact that they're having an answer when EDG makes a play, and generally it's been BLG being proactive, I'm actually very pleasantly surprised by what we're seeing, and I'm hoping that this can continue. I'm hoping we get to see more, and especially with Zeka on the Zoe. Sure, his flash has been down, so he's punishable for the time being, but you can expect really good things from Zeka in the mid-game when he's on this Zoe. Zoe's one of those champions that in the mid-game can do a lot of work.
Yeah, the biggest problem for him right now, though, is this laning phase, right? You can see they've had to call ppgod up because they needed to break the freeze there. But now that that's done, Zeka can actually have a little bit of a safer time in this lane. Overextension as well on this bottom side could mean that we get a bit of action from BLG.
Perhaps. We do see ppgod. The other side of the wall at Dragon does have his flash available as True Shot Barrage goes through. Viper just desperately trying to clear this one up. Maybe wants to recall or something. Meiko tagged by the Void Seeker. ppgod does have his flash, but he's sort of trapped if they were to pincer. We'll be able to walk away. Actually heading towards the mid lane instead. Maybe an opportunity there for BLG.
I think what they're trying to do here is wait until that ultimate comes up for BiuBiu and then look towards a Rift Herald play. But Zeka is crazy low on mana. He's not going to be able to do too much if the fight does kick off, so they look for the pick instead.
Oh, what a kick coming out. Zeka's in trouble here. Does get himself away, and it's actually Scout that will go down. Beautifully done. And now the fight extended. Jiejie's in trouble. Overheated on this one and will walk away with his life. It's going to be 2 for 1 in favor, or sorry, 1 for 1 in favor of both teams because it's a 1 for 1. I'm struggling with words here today, Dagda. But the Herald's still neutral.
For a living. But yeah, the big thing here though is like, okay, so Scout goes down, he's got no TP. Now you got BiuBiu as well, who burnt his TP and his ult in that fight. But again, with Zeka having very little mana, it's not like BLG are really in a position to try and hard force this top objective, despite the fact that Jiejie had to back. So you're still going to see a lot of pressure up towards this early Rift Herald. And actually, it looks like EDG may just be the ones that get control up here.
Well, they're trying to get vision control at least, but ppgod throws just enough congestion that they have to back away.
Jiejie's
Aiming was on the bottom side of the map there, yeah. Now Scout is bot as well and doesn't have TP. So if BLG do want to go for the Herald, they can certainly make that play. WeiWei is on the top side of the map, but does feel like they're a little cautious to just run straight at it. Well, that's where I'm wrong.
So the big thing here for me is like, okay, so Scout's going to be able to trade this for turret plate's bot side, but if you're able to get the turret goat on towards someone like Aiming, or heck, even onto someone like BiuBiu, I think you can do a lot more with that gold rather than Scout. Like, Scout, if he gets accelerated, certainly can do a lot of work and can have that one-shot potential. But in those team fights, he is again going to be more so kind of trying to pick and choose how he gets these engagements off. And it's not going to be as big of an impact of, like, say, BiuBiu having that actual one-shot potential, or Aiming just being really far ahead of gold.
Zeka already started to chunk people out as Jiejie discovers that for himself firsthand. Scout's trying to get himself some extra plating, but he'll only get 2 for now. As the wave will be cleared up now in the bottom side. And BLG reset here as, re-arrive on the scene. 5 seconds until the Drake comes up. It's going to be either a Mountain or an Ocean Soul in this one. BLG looking for bot prio here. They're going to be able to clear the wave mid as well and move on in. Viper is currently recalling. That signals that EDG probably just going to give this Drake up.
I assume they're going to as well, especially when you got Rift Herald in the pocket of WeiWei, right? They can pretty much hard force priority somewhere, so instead they're just going to try and get themselves out onto the map sooner, see if they can try and use that tempo that they have to make a play elsewhere. And it looks like if you look at that top side, with where Meiko and Jiejie are situated, they could be looking for a dive onto BiuBiu.
Yeah, they have been spotted, and that should be a perfect opportunity for BiuBiu to just get out of dodge on this one, because with Jiejie here, with Meiko up on the top side as well, this will be a couple of plates at the very least taken by Flandre. I think it's only going to be the one, though, for now. Can maybe push the next wave, but that Rift Tower we talked about, it's moved towards the bottom side of the map. WeiWei is here. That's some serious value on the Phoenix stats as it is the entire minion wave. But we'll be able to shove this one in, get a few plates onto Zeka. And I'm perfectly okay with them getting the plates onto Zeka, because we already talked about Zoe in the mid game having insane power, getting her to that Luden's Echo, getting her to the point, or the Everfrost, whichever route they choose to go. Getting that mythic item finished off is such a huge moment in terms of power spiking for Zoe.
Yeah, the big thing I want to see them, though, to like capitalize on this further, is to have BiuBiu rotate down to that bottom side of the map. If BiuBiu is able to shove in this wave and then use the paranoia to force people off that mid lane turret, it becomes a hell of a lot easier for BLG to actually start to snowball this. If you end up with BiuBiu, though, just staying in this top side and not really having that much more impact, it kind of becomes null and void. Like, cool, bot lane turrets down, you're not really getting much more out of it. Say if you'd use that mid lane and trying to crack open this mid lane structure.
So we'll see when those spikes start to come through and when they're able to try and push for that kind of thing. Because the thing is, like, Zeka, even though he got all of those plates, still actually didn't finish the mythic item. He will be able to go over to get blue buff here. And it's going to be 1 plate in favor of BLG, but that ultimately, oh nice, Flandre. He actually gets away with that one. Well played, mate. Just gets the ward over and takes it away from Zeka. Sad times for the Zoe player, which I'm sure chat is rejoicing about. But all things considered, the 2 Drakes in favor of BLG, but in terms of gold, only a 1,000 lead right now. So not that dramatic, but Flandre may be looking for something. Zeka smells a rat. He knows something's up here. He's like, I really want to go for that wave, but I don't think that's a good idea.
Now, the patience pays off, though. Still manages to hit the wave and will back away before anyone else on EDG can make their way up there. And that's been twice now. We've seen some plays trying to go towards top side, but BLG aware of what EDG are attempting here and just trying to keep themselves safe. Now, multi-members from EDG in towards mid, and with pressure on both side lanes, it's actually going to be relatively tough for BLG to defend everything.
BiuBiu and Scout sparring a little bit on the bottom side, but yeah, you're absolutely right. EDG doing a really good job to get pressure going across the map, and it has to be said, I feel like in terms of the 1-3-1, their side lanes at least right now, feeling like they favor EDG pretty handily.
Oh, BiuBiu.
You're not in a good spot, my friend. He did, yeah, he saw the ward go down, and that's going to be the sign that he's got to get out of there. As resets across the board here from BLG, we saw Aiming and Zeka heading back to base. The Everfrost now finished, Kraken Slayer as well, and we actually have a Divine Sunderer on Udyr. So I guess Divine Sunder really is just in the spot where you can just build it on anyone, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting 14% of the opponent's max health done with the Sheen proc. You're also getting 8% of your health regen as well, thanks to the proc as well. So it's a lot of value that you get out of the item, and in it against a composition like EDG's that has a lot of short range carries like Flandre, Scout, Jiejie, you are going to be able to hit these guys multiple times, be able to get multi procs off as BiuBiu.
BiuBiu, he's in trouble, does use the paranoia, jumps back in. But I think he basically realized he was not getting out of that one, so will go down. Nice little dive there from Jiejie and Scout. I don't think BLG are going to be able to make anything happen elsewhere on the map.
And they may be able to get this top tower, but it's EDG once again kind of understanding what are BLG trying to do. Because remember what we just talked about, right? Would be like, if BLG can push in deep with BiuBiu on this bot side of the map, then they can use that paranoia to play towards mid lane. But EDG aren't giving them that opportunity. Scout hard pushing the bot side, having the support from Jiejie and Meiko, and it means that BiuBiu isn't able to put any sort of pressure down. And when you've got that situation, Viper poking, aiming under the tower, consistently shoving, Viper can push up further because he's a safer AD carry and is able to play a little bit more aggressive towards structures.
Ooh, Zeka forced to flash as well. It feels like these side lanes are being handily won by EDG at this point, as BLG struggle. And look, Zoe, not necessarily a good side lane champion, right? That is kind of just one of the facts of Zoe. She doesn't really like being in the 1v1 in a long lane because there's no mobility there. But now the TP's come through. Dagda, Drake spawning, and EDG look like they finally want to fight for one.
I don't know if they really can, though. Like, the way that BLG have set themselves up, even with the build from Zeka, they are kind of more pick-orientated. Now, that could help if they manage to get on towards someone like Viper, but unfortunately for them, with Flandre topside having some really strong TP wards, this is going to be a tough fight for them.
BiuBiu doesn't have his ultimate available right now, though, so that could be an issue for BLG. EDG, they're the ones grouped up, they're the ones on the scene right now, and I feel like BLG are just desperately waiting for that Nocturne ult to come available. WeiWei in the pit as well. This will be even smites, even though he's 2 levels down. The smites are even, but it goes the way of Scout actually got that one. I'm not sure how neither smite managed to get it. In the end, it was Scout. I saw Lee Sin, and I was like, the jungler got this. It wasn't the case. Scout baiting me there as he pretends to go in. And it is going to be EDG managing to grab themselves the Drake. And now moving up towards Herald as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're super low when it comes towards BLG's side. Aiming's forced to back away. Zeka now will have to try and play play for keeping EDG off of this Rift Herald, because otherwise they're just going to be able to sneak it away. But it looks like with both ppgod and Aiming backing away, EDG will be able to keep themselves in this, pick up the Rift Herald, and start to use this to get some of the super low towers down.
Very nicely done here by EDG, and it's good to see that they are answering back in this series, because especially after game 1, it felt like they made a lot of attempts to answer, but none of them worked out. This time around, their cognizant plays are working. Like, if you think back to the early game of game number 1, EDG were reading exactly what BLG wanted to do and answering it beautifully. Just when it got to the mid game and the late game, it felt like compositionally there was just nothing they could do. This time around, that's not necessarily the case, and it feels like their knowledge of how to play the game is paying dividends.
Yeah, and it's hard for BLG to try and answer for EDG when they have map control like this, because we already saw how potent the 1-3-1 is, but Zeka just isn't useful in that scenario. He's not able to play against Scout, he's not able to deal with Flandre, so when you've got these 2 side lanes that EDG can handily play through, BLG are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and unfortunately they haven't got these early dragons in their favour in the manner that we talked about as well as they would like. So for EDG, they can continue to play side lanes, continue to try and bully BLG into playing their game.
So we'll see. And I have to say, BiuBiu, not having a great game. The Jace last game looking real good, but this time around on the Nocturne, he's been consistently punished by EDG, and it's exactly what you're saying. Them very intelligently playing around these side lanes and finding opportunities, and BiuBiu has been the You could say the benefactor of those opportunities in some weird way. Aiming will be able to dodge away. Doesn't get stunned. Flashes out of the play. Now BiuBiu into the backline to deter the aggression. Very nicely done by BLG to answer yet another play here. Ooh, Aiming will get out with his life. This should be a tower now for EDG. Nicely done. Get a bit of pressure down onto Aiming, and they get a tower as a reward.
And that's what we were talking about, right? Aiming isn't really as safe as Viper in these plays, where he has to move up pretty damn close to try and clear the wave. Otherwise, it's constantly chipping at his turret. And the second he does, Meiko and Jiejie are in a position to try and take him down, especially with the Rumble ult and that long-range Leona engage. It is so damn hard for Aiming to survive any of the plays that EDG are trying to make.
So, EDG starting to get a handle on things here. It does feel like they're starting to get in control of this game. And now the question will be, okay, BLG, you won game number 1 pretty convincingly. You had complete control in the mid game. This time around, EDG are answering back. What's the next step? What else have you got going for you? Because Aiming, getting close towards 2 items. Same can be said for Zeka. When they get to those 2 items, they'll certainly be hitting some big spikes. But EDG, I feel like, can just kind of group up and deathball in these games. And that makes Zoe's life a little bit difficult.
I mean, for EDG, right, you got Dragon in a minute. You've got full control of these side lanes. You can see them now. They're about to shut them out, push them in towards BLG's side of the map. They can reset. They can get themselves towards Dragon first and get themselves into a pretty decent position to look for that next Dragon fight, or at least prevent BLG from getting to Soul Point. But BLG, I think right now, you kind of just have to ignore the side lanes. Like, you know that basically these dragons are your win condition. If you can force EDG to play this game, well then that's how you're able to actually play towards the strengths of the BLG comp. So right now you can see they're just like, look, we don't care about side lanes. We may lose something, but we have to get control over this objective.
All right, well, Drake's up in 40 seconds here. So BLG, as you rightly say, they have control right now. They're looking to maintain control of that river. For EDG, how do they get in here? I guess Herald in mid is the answer right now, as it's dropped by Jiejie. And BLG look to add... They can ignore the side lanes a bit, but I don't know if they can ignore a Herald. Scout is behind everyone, equalizes their aim and kicked into the whole team. Oh, Scout, that was beautiful. And BLG, they're left to run away from the situation. Baron is on the map. Forget the third Drake. EDG, they want to try and threaten the Baron.
Yeah, they're going to handily be able to get it as well. No AD carry means not really any consistent damage here for the BLG side. So EDG turn over towards Dragon. Meiko trying to see if he can play keep away.
Yeah, clear in vision here. WeiWei is over the wall, has flash, has smite. It's possible to steal this one. And somewhat of a 50-50, because remember, the junglers have the same smites at this point. Here we go. Engage comes on through. ppgod is caught on the top side of the play, but he flashes out himself. Baron has been stopped, and ppgod will go down for this one. But I think ultimately, they're quite happy to take just a support dying instead of a Baron.
Well, now we got to play it back over towards the Dragon as well, because ADG have decided Baron, no. Dragon, yes, though. And you can see how different this game becomes now when the smites are on even footing. You don't want to risk these 50-50 steals when it's a big objective like Baron or like some of these Dragons.
Dagda, what was that TP from Scout? Scout just TP'd to Grom. Which I'm a little confused by. I was expecting him to TP towards... Oh, because he's just going to play Assassin up. Okay, he doesn't have any damage because it's Udyr.
No! There he goes!
Looks nice. Wait. He's fine. He's still Udyr. It turns out Udyr is still a thing. But, okay, fair enough. Fair enough, Scout. I take it back. It's a nice TP.
I mean, TP for Flash, whatever. I think it's still a bit of a strange one. Like, you weren't going to get that top lane tower anyway, but yeah, look, we're going to get a replay of this, and like, Scout, beautiful flank here, walks straight over all the control wards that were already placed, and even manages to get his way out thanks to the follow-up with the Sonic Wave. There was nothing Aiming could do in that situation.
Ooh, Meiko nearly getting bubbled there. That would have been a huge pick for BLG. It does feel like Zeka having a real hard time having any impact in this game. EDG just grouping beautifully. And Leona very good at just denying the damage out from the zone. Zeka has been ruined by the equalizer. Barely gets out with his life. And I tell you what, Rumble is known as a counter to Zoe in the mid lane, but it works when Rumble's in the jungle as well. You just equalize where the portal is.
Yeah, I mean, you can see there now Zeka forced to back away, no TP, nobody to use the Ignite or Exhaust on to even try and refresh that as well. So EDG, they start up the Dragon once again. BLG now forced to try and commit with a member down.
No ulti on BiuBiu. Not going to be able to do anything on this one. In they go, and ppgod just forced back away immediately. Solar Flare goes down as well. This is beautiful team fight from EDG. WeiWei forced away. And it's just as simple as that. Oh, wait, Flandre goes back in. 1v4, has to stopwatch to keep himself alive here. Won't be able to do so. Sleep comes through. Zeka with the damage is not quite enough. There's no Ignite ticket, and Flandre somehow gets away with that one. It was a dicey play at best from him, but he's managed to survive it. As Viper barely dodges a bubble.
I think Flandre needs to chill out a little bit. You know, this has been 2 games now where he's kind of got a bit over the top, and the rest of the team is like, dude, we're gone. Like, we're out. We're going towards Baron. And honestly, that play from Flandre kind of cost EDG the Baron there. They would have been able to turn back, had enough health to get away with it. But with that, BLG now forced them back. They do lose 1 member, but you're going to be pretty happy that that Baron didn't go across.
And, you know, look, Dagda, sure. They don't get the Baron, but think about the style points that Flandre just earned. You got to think outside the box when it comes to the LPL. It's not just down to winning games and getting objectives. It's down to being the coolest top laner in the league. And when you got people like BiuBiu and the Shy here, and Bin, there's a lot of cool top laners you got to contest with. So I respect it from Flandre. He knows the game that he's playing.
Fair. Do you know what's not cool for BiuBiu though? This new Ezreal build. Because when you look at the Frozen Heart that's about to be picked up, this makes it insanely hard for BiuBiu to actually try and assassinate Viper. And it's one of the reasons that we're seeing Ezreal kind of rise up in prominence is that he is so safe, but his build is so damn good and at being able to deal with a lot of these like AD assassins or AD damage in general. And you know, when you're seeing like Viegos and Nocturnes and all these kind of guys coming into the mix, it means that you've got an incredibly strong AD carry that's still dealing a heap of damage thanks to Divine Sunder while building very, very tanky.
Yeah, definitely. It feels very reminiscent of the classic blue build Ezreal, even though the items are different. Like, ultimately, the result is the same, right? You're still doing same percent health damage, because it used to be Blade of the Rune King, now it's Divine Sunderer, and you still just build a lot of blue items that give you mana and defensive stats, and then more mana turns it into offensive stats. So, yeah, definitely... Blue build Ezreal is back in full swing, and anyone that used to abuse it for elo back in the day, you can rejoice, because it works just as well in solo queue. This ain't just a competitive pick, that's for sure. But now we can see EDG once again can start to look towards the Baron. It is a minute until that Drake comes up though. Neither team would get Soul off of the back of this Drake, but potentially something that could be traded if EDG do find a window onto the Baron. Maybe BLG could at least get a Drake off the back.
You can see BiuBiu is doing a good job of actually keeping the map state in BLG's favor, shoving in that bottom side. Now he's starting to roam up, so potential here for BLG to look for a pick before everything kicks off. But when you've got the mid tower, or no, actually mid tower gone, sorry, but you can still look for a pick here as BiuBiu, you can see hovering.
There we go, he's asleep. Can they get the pick onto this one? It's going to be Jiejie going down. Huge pick here for BLG as they look for more on the fight. Scout, though, will answer as he takes down ppgod, and they want a little bit more as well. Keep your eyes on Viper. Scout goes in once more. The kickback is too beautiful as aiming falls again, and Scout is just all over this fight. He's all over BLG like a rash, and now Flandre wants a little bit of the action himself. Under the tower he goes, gets himself a shroud, gets himself some damage as BiuBiu barely gets away. Zeka, no mana to talk about, but the Everfrost keeps him safe for now. Flandre trying to close the gap. The slow is there. Can he do enough damage? Zeka trying to dip, dive, and dodge everything, but it's not going to be enough, and EDG take the fight.
Well, Scout is not your average Joe when it comes towards his ability to play this Lee Sin. He has looked spectacular. The fact that in that just mess of people, he manages to pick out aiming and get the team fight victory for EDG was absolutely insane. And now EDG, even though the pick came across from BLG to start things off, they win the team fight. You see it here, like, this is actually a really strong play coming through from BLG. You know that you've got Flandre in the bot side, so it's a 4 versus 5, pick onto Jiejie. That equalizer, though, from Jiejie separates this fight so much. Zeka and Amy can't follow up as easy as they would like to, and it means that here, Scout, there's a mess of people here, and still, gets the follow-up in towards the flash, straight on towards Amy. And now, again, no consistent damage coming through from BLG, and the rest of EDG can just run them down.
I will say, Zeka played that fight very, very well. Like, multiple bubbles trying to slow things down. But as you rightly say, Jiejie's equalizer, Jiejie was the one that was picked. He was the one that went down. And still his equalizer is like one of the MVP moments of that fight, stopping the infinite follow-up, stopping BLG being able to just blow the game open. And now, it's a 4,000 gold lead in favor of EDG. They did manage to get that Drake for themselves, and importantly, like you're saying already, Dagda, there's a bunch of armor coming through for the side of EDG, but now they've got 3 Mountain Drakes. They're looking towards a Mountain Soul. Look at the composition from BLG. They've got to quickly burst someone out. That's so difficult to do against this many Mountain Drakes.
And I mean, even when you come towards like the side lane push that we've seen from EDG as well, right? You have this 1-3-1. You've now got an infinitely more tankier, well, not infinitely more, but still a very much tankier EDG. That's going to be a problem when Scout is trying to deal against Zeka. Oh, hang on.
There we go, equalizer down. WeiWei going to be locked up on top of the equalizer. Flashes out though. BiuBiu gets out the top side as well. BLG will survive the play on this one, but Baron is up and EDG have full control.
Only the equalizer and the solar flare used as well, whereas when you look across here, you've only got the ultimate coming through from BiuBiu, so still a lot available here for BLG if they want to try and contest, but it looks like they might be too late for the party, although EDG starting to pull off.
TP out from Scout here. EDG got to be cautious. This could be a 50-50 smite as the bubble comes in. Zeka over the wall trying to get damage onto the Baron. It's 2,000 HP. Meiko the first one to go down in the fight. Baron still going to be paused for now, but BLG's health bars just aren't big enough. The Baron is taken by EDG, and all of the kills go their way as well. It's 12-4 on the scoreboard as EDG, they're looking to finish things out.
And you can see there, Amy tried so hard to carry that fight, but at this stage, there's just too many tanky stats on the side of EDG. Is he out? Oh, he gets it!
God, he got away with it!
Not
Zeka,
even close. Not even close.
That was so cheeky. He sees the Zonyas and he just dips.
I'm not sticking around for this, but either way, you're kind of fine here now. Like, EDG, there's the equalizer, BiuBiu forced off the turret. With this Baron, they'll be able to take this. You have Flandre pushing in top. Viper pushing in mid. They are completely controlling the map at this stage, and you can't fight back just with the mountain dragons that have been picked up and the tankiness of this composition in general from EDG. BLG are floundering.
And just like, we're talking about the fact that armor is really valuable this game, right? When you, the replay's up. We'll talk about items after the replay. Dagda, break it down.
Yeah, you can see here, watch aiming in this fight. Like, he is actually getting a heap of damage off. Flandre comes over the wall, though, and this is where now aiming's forced to just go in Killer Instinct to the middle of the fight. And from that point forward, everyone in EDG is just screaming, kill this Kaisa, because this is the only consistent damage on this roster. Like, if that Kaisa goes down, nobody else is really going to get through the likes of the Lee Sin, get through this Ezreal as well. So with aiming down, BLG crumble, and again, EDG now 6-0 for Ezreal, 4-1-7 for Scout, who's been playing a phenomenal game of Lee Sin. Like, EDG are just waiting to close out this game.
They're monstrously huge, and I want to quickly talk about armor if I can. I'm not sure I'm gonna get a chance to hear Dagda as the siege has begun. BiuBiu's off to the side here. EDG just grouping up, just pressure on with the Baron, as you'd expect here. And this is just a game of attrition. But look, there is a Zhonya's on 2 members on the top side. There's a GA mid for Scout. And then you've got the blue build Ezreal. And then obviously Leona. She's basically made of armor. So it does feel like EDG, they're basically invincible at this point. And BiuBiu, he's realized that this pick, this Nocturne, it doesn't do anything in this game. It's completely useless at this point. ppgod forced out. Flandre dives into the middle of everyone. Equalizer there. ppgod gets out, flashes to safety, but will go down to Scout in the end. Flandre could be in trouble, but BiuBiu can't finish the kill. There's too much armor. And Scout even dips back out, gets himself shield, goes back in underneath the towers, and Viper's there to follow up as well. Down goes aiming, down go BLG. Nobody even dies from EDG. That was a magnificent fight and a beautiful game win for Edward Gaming.
A very nice comeback game for EDG after what was a pretty sad performance, I'll say, from them in game number 1, where they couldn't quite get through BLG. It's gotta feel nice to have the tables reversed, as BLG just cannot get through the tanky stats, cannot get through anyone on this EDG side, and they will bring us to a 1-1 scoreline.
They certainly will. Beautiful game there from EDG, and we get to be all tied up in this series, and I'm really glad that we got to see that, because it wouldn't have been a good side for EDG if they went down 2-0 to BLG on their first play day of the split. However, going into game number 3, it's very likely that we'll swap sides again, so drafts could be very different, and it does feel like we've had very stylized drafts across the course of today, and EDG managed to find a very, very good answer to this kind of almost assassination comp that came out from BLG, and the Mountain Drake's definitely helping in that regard as well. Going into game number 3, we'll see which team gets the better stylized comp. It does feel like every comp has a very clear strength and a very clear weakness today.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem that we're seeing for BLG in this game was just like not quite understanding how to like force the issue in their favor. Because ideally, this is a composition that wants to fight off of like 2 items, right? You go and then try and power through that, but because we didn't see the early prioritization from BLG towards the Dragons, they didn't really find an opportunity to kind of force EDG to fight them when they were happy. Also, the Rift Tower usage on bot side, again, they couldn't really capitalize on it because EDG played so well around that hole in the bottom side. So I think overall, we're in it now kind of where EDG are understanding, hey, look, if we actually go into this on like an even footing from the draft, our understanding of the map is just superior to BLG, and we can just look to play the map rather than actually trying to go for these all-out fights.
Yeah, we'll see if they're going to be able to read the map. And that's one thing that EDG have done exceptionally, right, is reading the plays, especially in the early game. EDG feels like I said it in the cast, it feels like they've got a map hack half the time. They seem to just know exactly whatever BLG wants to do at any moment. WeiWei is being read by EDG in these games. Jiejie doing an amazing job of that one. 11,000 gold lead by the end of things, and look at that damage out from Viper. And here's the thing, it's this full assassination comp from BLG, but Viper was completely safe for the vast majority of the game, just dancing around at the back of the fights, just blasting out Qs.
Yeah, and that's why this is such a strong build, right? You can see he's got so much damage, so much mobility. The CDR all works, or well, ability haste works phenomenally on him as well. Like, this is going to be a pick that we start to see a hell of a lot more in the LPL. But overall, I mean, EDG, it doesn't even matter so much about the damage percent. Like, it looked good at the end, but this was EDG understanding how to play the early map better, the mid game better. And then it got to a point where they were just ahead thanks to all these plays that they'd made, and that was where the problem started to arise for BLG, where they weren't quite able to close out the game in a manner that favored them. And honestly, this is kind of reminiscent of what we used to see coming through from both BLG and also the V5 collective, was when they don't get that mid lane time or mid lane tower down and aren't able to play through what the regular game plan is for them, it all kind of starts to fall apart.
Look, just before anyone else does it, I'm calling the V5 collective for my indie band. No one else can have that. It's time to go for a break. We'll see who's going to be able to take this one in game number 3.